What exactly is police brutality? Well, generally the term is defined as an act of misconduct done by a member of law enforcement through the use of an extreme amount of force to physically, mentally or emotionally attack a member of society. Fortunately, many law enforcement officers, those sworn to protect and serve, have abused their rights and authority to ferociously assault and manipulate citizens even if they were innocent. Now, what happens when the police are perceived by citizens as not only enforcer of the law, but are also judge and executioner? Well, to help us answer that question, we're joined by Ombudsman John Walters. A very good evening to you, sir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonas, and thank you for the invitation, and good evening, Namibia.
First and foremost, coming from as the Ombudsman, what do you make of the military operations of late? What is your take on the joint operations?
I would not use the term military operation. I will say the operations, just refer to operations. It is necessary. It is very important. Because we always complain that there is no visible policing in our neighborhoods. Crime is on increase, and many of us became victims of theft, robberies, burglaries, and all these kinds of crime. But these operations, as far as out of my brief inquiries this afternoon, I discovered that these operations are confined only to 2 suburbs of neighborhoods. I don't see in my own neighborhood.
And which suburbs are those, and why might that be the case?
I'm saying in Windhoek West. I don't see visible. There are no visible policing in my neighborhood, and I've asked my colleagues and friends and said, not even in there. Suburbs, So then I asked myself, why is it confined to certain sections of the Greater Windhoek?
Mm-hmm. The public has raised concerns over the deployment of military personnel as part of the joint operations. What exactly does the law say about that?
Let me take you. I've spent some time to research, and the Defence Act number 1 of 2002, in particular, Section 5. Authorize military of defense force members to assist the police. May I just read briefly for you quickly?
Yes.
The defense force, any portion or member thereof may at any time be employed, 1, on service in defense of Namibia, on service in the prevention or suppression of terrorism, on service in the prevention or suppression of internal disorder in Namibia, on service in the preservation of life, health and property, on service in maintenance of essential services, on such other service as may be determined by the President. And very importantly, subsection B provides, while employed as contemplated in paragraph A above, be used on those police functions mentioned in Section 13 of the Police Act. And Section 13 provides the functions of the police force shall be the preservation of the internal security of Namibia, the maintenance of law and order, the investigation of any offense or alleged offense, the prevention of crime, and the protection of life and property. And then the Defence Act goes on a little bit further. A member who is employed on police function under subsection 2B shall have all such powers and duties as are by law conferred or imposed on a member of the police force. So the members of the defense force are now members of the police force, and they've got the same duties, functions, and powers, but not without the training as police officers.
All right. When do we judge an act of abuse as an act of abuse of power? We've seen a lot of people going to social media and even in local dailies talking about how members of the public have been abused. How do we justify violence? Are there instances where police are justified to use violence in some of the cases that you have encountered so far?
No. The police is at no stage on any operation justified to use violence. It can never be justified. The police can, or the security forces can only use the reasonable force to overcome any resistance when effecting an arrest. What reasonable force will be determined by the circumstance of the prevailing circumstances.
Now, when somebody says or asks that, well, these are trained police officers, if this is the things that are being carried out, some of the cases, not to say that all of them are doing it, but does it bring the training into question?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The Constitution provides that when a police officer effects an arrest, he shall inform that person of the grounds and the reason for that arrest. I am not on social media, I don't follow it, but what I was informed is that persons are stopped, they are searched without their permission. You understand? And the last one I saw some brutality. If there was a resistance, the person was on the ground. I believe the resistance was overcome, and a person in uniform still kicked at the person. That is, it's not a reasonable force. That is an assault on the person.
On the other hand, there has been a sentiment expressed among some members of the public that, when they experience such cases, they don't bother to go open a case because, well, they say, what's the point? Because even if I do open a case, nothing will come of it. What does this say about the level of faith that citizens have in the criminal justice system? If that is, the general perception amongst some of the members of public.
Before I answer the question, may I just add, you and I cannot sit here and be armchair critics of what happened there on the ground. I am speaking of what I've only saw in video clips and what I heard. I don't know the circumstances under which the uniformed forces or law enforcement acted in the way they acted. And the motto of my office is the other side of the story. So I have to get both sides of the story to make out to draw the necessary conclusions or inferences. Why are members of the public reluctant to lay criminal charges? I've been informed that the police stations where some of them tried to file criminal charges, the officers on duty refused to file their complaints. Secondly, the criminal justice systems may discourage persons to go the criminal route. All I can advise them, if they are not in favor of filing criminal charges, that they have to go the civil route. But then you have to instruct a lawyer to file civil claims against the government and the police, and that is costs money.
Yes.
But I would, we cannot, if the person feels that he was assaulted and maybe in some instances seriously insulted, I would encourage him to file criminal charges. And I believe the Inspector General of Police also made that statement. If they find it difficult to file such complaints, I would encourage them to come to my office so that we can help them to file the charges and follow through the prosecutions. But Jonah and I have also investigate or did research on the number of outstanding criminal cases on police officers. It's shocking. It's thousands, which are not before the court. It's hanging in the air. So it may be added to the numbers.
No, that would be a discussion for another day. But thank you so much, John, for coming through. That was Ombudsman John Walters talking to us about the much debated joint operations ongoing between the police and the military.